But let's go through Ian Wiffin and his interview from start to finish, because this is stupid.
Updated fiscal analyzer.
This Google search became
Genius, who was tied to the Karen Read trial. We are here for the very first time to discuss this with you.
We are coming on the air with breaking news.
Karen Read walking out of court with hand over heart and a major win in her murder trial redo.
Just to catch you up, in case you've lived under a rock or avoided social media in the news, Karen Read is a Massachusetts woman who earlier this summer was acquitted of murder in her boyfriend's tragic death. This was her second trial. So Ian, I believe the first trial ended with a hung jury, and it was a mistrial, so she had to go through it twice. You had to go through it twice.
No.
More of her
First of
background.
all, no, Ian Wiffin didn't have to go through anything. He was an expert witness who testified in both trials. That is not going through it all the way Karen Read went through it all. It's not like he had to do any fucking thing about being there that specific day to testify.
Her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, was a Boston police officer, and in January of 2022, he was found dead in the front lawn of another Boston police officer's home in a Massachusetts suburb in the early morning hours in the middle of a blizzard. I'm not going to get into the details of all of the basics and the foundation of this case. You have read it, you've heard it. I'm sure Ian will allude more to the digital evidence and what that spoke for. But the prosecution accused Karen of driving drunk and backing into John with her SUV and then fleeing the scene, leaving him to die in the snow. The defense said that Karen Read was innocent and dropped John O'Keefe off at home and left.
No, she did not. You're Cellebrite, a multi-billion-dollar company, doing some rectifying BS interview, and you don't even get this simple fact right. She did not drop him off at home. She dropped him off at the Albert's house at 34 Fairview and nothing else. How can you get that wrong?
They said he was beat up in the home and dumped on the lawn. So this is where the conspiracies really came out. The police officers apparently were involved and covered it up. So
why are you using air quotes? Why are you using air quotes? You're Cellebrite, a neutral party in this case. Why the fuck are you using air quotes?
So everyone has their own opinions. We've seen them all over social media, but that's really the basics of the case. This case is like a super onion with so many layers. The more you peel back, you're like, what is actually happening? It was a media circus, extremely high profile, and our very own Ian Wiffin was kind of the ringmaster at times of that circus. So Ian, seriously, I applaud you. One, for your patience and not flipping out. I know many times I wanted to flip out on your behalf. So I was emotionally in this with you, but you did a fantastic job. For those of you that don't know Ian, he's not just the brilliant mind of forensics. He is also our decoding manager here at Cellebrite. So Ian takes all the things that are stored in that lovely brain of his and tries to dump it back into the tools for everyone else that needs Ian's brain to help us solve our digital forensic investigations. All right, Ian, you ready for some questions?
I am. Go for it.
And then we'll have some fun at the end too. All right, why were you brought into this case?
Okay. So I initially got involved in this case after a true crime podcaster contacted Cellebrite asking for clarification because of some things that he'd seen in other people's blogs, some things that had been...
Why the flaming F are you getting involved in a case because of a blogger. Why? You are hired by the prosecution or the defense, depending on case. Why would you get interested because a blogger contacts you? And folks, remember this. The prosecution claimed they could debunk the 227 search a week before they contracted Cellebrite. So why do they claim they were involved because of a blogger?
Tweeted related to an artifact that Physical Analyzer had passed. Basically, police had obviously extracted a bunch of phones at the time of John's death, done their own analysis, including the analysis of a witness's device, which was written off at the time as not containing anything relevant to the case. About a year later, defense experts took that same extraction and ran it through Physical Analyzer as well, and now found a timestamp which they thought was a smoking gun. The timestamp itself was related to a Google search, the infamous Google search "Host long to die in the cold," which is an obvious misspelling of the term "how long to die in the cold." I'll say that this search had actually been found initially by police using Physical Analyzer 752, but at that time, the timestamp attached to it was around 6:23, 6:24 a.m. after John's body had been found and therefore deemed not evidentially significant. However, when the expert for the defense took the same data, they used a newer version of Physical Analyzer. This newer version had additional support. Obviously, we always add support for new artifacts as time goes on. And this new artifact support for a database called Browser State gave a timestamp of 2:27 a.m.
So your older version did not show this. Your newer version showed this. So how do we know your older version is correct in other cases? If a newer version shows different things and other things. When you go in for when you have gone in, Cellebrite, whoever expert is on the case for the past 10 years, testified about the accuracy of the older versions. How correct is it? Now, it's correct for the time being, but some of your testimonies has put people in prison for life. And here you're saying, oh, the new version showed this.
For that same Google search. And that's important. 227 is a really important time because that would mean that this is around 3.5, 4 hours before John's body was found, implying that somebody had some knowledge that he was outside dying in the cold before anybody should have known that that was the case. So this Google search became a pivotal piece of evidence for the defense to try to prove that someone other than Karen was responsible for John's death.
So a few things. I have many comments on this one. Cellebrite updated Physical Analyzer based upon your research and what you learned in that case so that people who don't understand how to validate don't have time to validate, and for better lack of other terms, press buttons to get answers. The answer will be correct in their face going forward.
Yes, I think we always try to provide information which is correct to the best of our knowledge and ability at the time based on the research. We always want to give information which can be verified by the examiners. And in this case, once I started to look at the data and look at the evidence, I determined that the timestamp in the browser state database was related to the time that the tab, so the browser tab actually took focus, and not the time that the search occurred or the navigation event occurred. So essentially, if you imagine opening up a brand new tab at 10 a.m. in the morning, using it to search for 30 minutes or so, visited numerous web pages during that time. When you eventually close that tab, a record's created in the browser state database saying the tab opened at 10 a.m. The last page that was visited, the one that was visited at like 10:30, is this. So there's no correlation between the two. And that's essentially what my research was focusing on, that timestamp is not necessarily the time.
Why was your research focused on debunking something instead of how did this occur? Why was your research focused on debunking?
Page was visited. It could be before, it could be after, but it's irrelevant to the actual URL. So based on that, we updated our decoding to remove any kind of confusion and to ensure that we give you the web page that was visited, but we can't say that this is the time. So we just.
So you had one version which showed one thing. You updated it, and all of a sudden, this 227 showed up. Then you updated the version again, which the update seems to be focused on removing something. How do you actually know that was the correct choice? Oh, this 227 didn't align with what the prosecution claimed. So we made a new version that took it off. You're supposed to be a neutral part. And here you are, in my opinion, telling us, oh, this caused problems. We don't really know why, so we removed it. Why?
Remove the time altogether because we don't.
And I think that's way better. And
so you didn't know why it showed up, so you chose to remove it. What did you do to actually verify? Because it sounds to me like, oh, we didn't know why, so we removed it. That's not especially scientific, is it? Because if you get an unknown thing in science, that should be your focus. Where did this unknown come from? What happened? You make the explanation, oh, that. But in the later versions, according to you, you simply remove it. So it will not show up. So in trials regarding crimes after 2020, what will it be? 2020, April 2025. Say everything that happens after that, this anomaly is simply removed. Why? Because you couldn't figure it out why it showed up? That's not good enough. Explain why it's a glitch. Explain why it's a ghost. But you can't just remove things because you can't figure it out.
something I wanted to comment to some of the social media trolls who have zero digital forensics knowledge in their bodies, but think
those are jurors, potential jurors, Miss Heather. If I were a defense attorney, I would clip that and ask in the next trial. So, people asking questions about why you between updates remove things from your results, why are you calling those people trolls? Social media trolls. You're supposed to be a neutral party, remember? Miss Heather Barnhart? You're only there to present facts. So why are you calling people who ask questions trolls? Does not that show bias, folks?
They know better than our very own Ian Wiffin. Tools cannot be static in nature. A static tool should never be used in a forensic lab ever, because technology is constantly changing. These apps change, browsers change, and we adapt to it. So we have to just keep the research going and keep feeding our tools and making them better.
Of course, yeah. I mean, we have to update our tools constantly to account for bugs that may exist in our software, bugs that may exist in the applications that we're decoding, changes made by vendors, or simply because our understanding changes. And this is a perfect example of where the testing that was originally done focused on a particular use case. But this case brought to light additional use cases and different ways that that data can be populated, and the possibility that that timestamp probably isn't accurate.
Listen to that again. Probably isn't accurate. Probably means you don't know why. And just because, again, as I said earlier, you can't explain why, and your choice is to remove it, that's not good. I mean, this is on their own YouTube channel. This is their public statements from the Cellebrite company. Everything here should be used by a defense attorney going forward.
Great. So what you're really saying, Ian, is that Cellebrite chose to make the tool better for users, and we weren't trying to be some part of the giant conspiracy of Karen Reed.
Karen Reed was determined not guilty by jury. That's not a conspiracy, Miss Barnhart. Why are you why are you calling people who ask questions about the reliability of your findings after your earlier version showed, oh, only this, the next version showed a different result, and then you chose, because you couldn't explain it, you chose to simply remove what you couldn't explain, and all of a sudden we get different results. How is that a conspiracy when you're saying it out loud?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we would never modify our decoding or our tool for any other reason than to do what we think is forensically best. We want to give the users the information that we believe is accurate.
Believe is accurate is not fucking good enough. I don't give two shits on a straw in a flaming fucktard what you believe is accurate. I want facts.
And in this case, this particular artifact is super easy to validate. You can get any test device and test this out yourself. If we were to modify our software for any kind of nefarious purpose, it wouldn't take long before users realized and quite rightly took us to task for doing things wrong. Right? We only do things because we think it's right.
Well, Ian, I thank you for your time and what you do for this community and for our viewers. Next up, part 2. We're going to discuss testifying in court.
And let's go to part
This was another level.
Let the evidence speak to you.
Karen saying that I was right is...
I just saw this tweet. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
This is part 2. Let's go through it. Part 1. Oh, you fucked up. Oh, you fucked up. Let's see how they do in part 2.
For part 2 of this special edition of Ask the Expert. I'm Heather Barnhart, and I have with me again Ian Wiffin, and we're discussing the Karen Reid case. If you didn't watch part 1, go back and spend the time to understand how Ian got involved in this case, some of the chaos behind it, and what the key digital evidence actually was. So Ian let the evidence tell the truth, and he simply testified to that truth. In part 2, we want to focus on that. So Ian was amazing in court. The judge was even smiling at you, Ian, when you were done testifying. I felt like everyone wanted to give you a round of applause. But in addition to this case taking its own life form, the Karen Reid supporters, all the noise at the courthouse, so much media chatter everywhere, you turned off your notifications. You were getting distracted by all of the noise. Before we even talk about how you prepared to do that, I will say, even in the Idaho murder prep, when I asked you, Ian, should I watch these things? Should I listen?
Yeah, folks. Heather Barnhart was involved in the Idaho 4 case. I don't know about you. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, folks. She might be a brilliant forensic analyst. Brilliant. But here, somehow, she's interviewing Ian Wiffin. That's a really bad choice. She's not trained to interview anyone. I don't know how Cellebrite thought this 2-part series of asking Ian Wiffin questions was best conducted by another forensic analyst. Whoever made that decision should be fired. What you should have done is finding an experienced reporter. Because this, I don't know anything about Heather Barnhart. She's not a good interviewer. She's actually really, really bad at it. This could have been done in a much better way had they used a PR firm or anything. But apparently they chose to do it in-house and with another forensic analyst. They could have had him on Andrea Burkhart. They could have had him on Ian Ronco. They could have had him on my show. But they chose in-house with a person who don't know shit about asking questions. Which, as Cat Williams says, which makes this interview idea worse. Because we haven't heard about Ian Wiffin for months. Most people forgot about Cellebrite. And all of a sudden, here we are with this clusterfuck reinforcing our notion that Cellebrite it's not good enough. It's simply not good enough. That's bad.
To these things, and you're like, absolutely not. Isolate yourself. That was some of the best advice that I think all of us could take. You need to let the evidence speak to you and not really let social media or the conspiracy theorists out there sway you.
Conspiracy theorists out there. Again, you're supposed to be a neutral party in a trial, just presenting facts. Why are you calling people asking questions conspiracy theorist? You know how to debunk conspiracy theorist? Present good facts. And let me tell you this. They are not presenting good fucking facts here. This is, folks, this is not meant for us who ask questions. This is meant for law enforcement, so law enforcement keeps hiring them. And if you're in law enforcement and thinks, oh, this is good, let's keep hiring these people, why would you give these open doors to smash in by clipping out things from this, which I definitely would do? I would clip the ever-living fuck out of this interview if I had a case where Cellebrite was involved, which was bad for my client. I would clip from this interview. Why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? Because this has been up for a week now. A fucking week. Because they think they did a good job. If you are a defense attorney handling a case with Cellebrite in, where Cellebrite findings are a crucial part, clip things from this interview and ask them, why are you calling people asking questions trolls? Why are you calling people asking questions conspiracy theorist? Isn't that a testament on you being bad at explaining? Why did you have to update your tool, which removed search results? Seriously.
In one way or another. All right, so we're going to talk about prepping, Ian. Prepping for this case, which we know you spent many, many hours doing. If you have not watched Ian testify, it's on YouTube, it's on Court TV YouTube, it's everywhere. I've had many students that come up to me after I teach for SANS and they say, hey, we make all of our new people watch this. Hey, we make even our trained investigators watch this. Because the way Ian can explain extremely technical details to, I think even my dad would understand what you meant, is astounding. So I personally thank you, and I love learning from you and watching you do this, but this is truly the masterclass. If you want to learn how to do courtroom testimony, you watch Ian Wiffin.
No. Oh, this is not good. Nope. Nope, nope.
I'm going to give you a little applause here. This is also why...
Miss Barnhart, you're supposed to conduct an interview, not a secret circle jerk. Why do you not behave professionally?
My family, the kids think Ian's a doctor because he's so smart. So he's Dr. Wiffin, according to our household. But I want to break you through or walk.
I take things that never happened for 500, Mr. Trebek. Yeah, that's about it. No, I do not believe for a single second what she said right there is close to the truth. Jesus Christ, this is cringe.
Walk you through, I should say, key concepts and advice and methodologies you use for people to testify successfully in court. So I'm going to give you your points and then have you just chime in with what do these actually mean to you?
Sure.
The first one, know your evidence and know it deeply.
So really there, I mean, it's easy to just create a report and present the data. But you really need to understand what that data means. How did that data get on the device? Why is it there? What are the other possibilities that could explain it? Is it deleted? If it's deleted, how was it deleted? All these kind of components that really mean that you understand the data rather than just showing what the data is on the device. Like, did somebody do a search, or is it the result of an autocomplete? Were they at a location, or did they just search for the location? There's so much data you can get from a device that can mean different things. You really need to understand what you're testifying to.
I love that. And I've been feeling the pain of that one myself. All right, next up, identify the make or break evidence. So make or break in quotes.
Yeah, so I think this comes with experience. After a while, you start to recognize not just which artifacts exist, but which are the important ones, which are the ones that you really need to spend additional time validating, verifying, testing, researching. If it's simply like an SMS message, for example, that exists on the device, it's pretty straightforward. We know why the SMS message was there. So it may be really good evidence, but it's also really easy to explain. And I think everybody in the world understands what an SMS message is. But if we're talking about something such as a location, for example, there are multiple reasons the location could be there. It could be really important information. So you really need to know why it's there. And that's why you kind of focus on it and do the additional validation and testing.
Fantastic. All right, now the third one, which I think personally is difficult. And this is where I could let my mind run for days on end. How do you prepare for the toughest questions?
I let my mind run for days on end. Legitimately, I go over all of my reports. I'll just mention as well, my reports are pretty detailed anyway. For example, for this second trial, I did about 150, 160 pages of reports. About half of that was the actual data, and about half of it was the testing, the research, the validation, everything that supported my opinion and my position.
Let's listen to that again.
The research, the validation, everything that supported my opinion and my.
Why would you research the things that supported your opinion? If you want to validate your research, you look for the things that don't support your opinion in order to show yourself. And defense and prosecution, I looked at every possibility here. Here, this jackass is saying what supported my opinion. That's not unbiased researched. That's bias. That's textbook fucking bias. I researched the things that supported my opinion. You're supposed to not form your opinion until after you researched the possibilities. So why The flaming fuck did you form an opinion and then searched for the things that validated it? Motherfucker.
Position that I made in my report. So having all that information there is available for the prosecution to read. It's available for the defense to read. Everybody knows where I stand and why I stand there. And it's also useful for me while reviewing my evidence and looking back at it to understand and to remind myself, this is why I have that opinion. I've already...
Yeah, but you just told us that you try to validate your opinion. You're not supposed to have an opinion until after you go through all the results. Really? Folks, this tells me they did not prepare at all for this. Because if they did, there are certain things here that could have been phrased differently in order to make themselves look better. We all would have seen it, I could have explained it, but it would have sounded better. So I'm actually thankful to Cellebrite to being bad at public relations. Because they put Miss Bernhardt and Ian Wiffin without any preparation. None, apparently. Because there are a bunch of clips in this interview that can be used by defense attorneys to invalidate what Cellebrite is doing. It's so stupid.
Already tested this. I don't need to think about that too deeply again because it's already on paper. I also try to guess what are the questions that I'm going to be asked. Like, what is the real sticking point of this data? What's the question going to be, and how can I answer it? And there's no possible way that you can cover all bases. There was a few questions caught me out in this trial, but on the whole, I knew what to expect, and I had a good idea what I'd be talking to.
Yeah, I think if you put yourself mentally in both sides of the courtroom, it helps you be a better witness overall.
Oh, for sure. Put yourself in the position of the prosecution, of the defense, and of the jury. Like, do they understand, or are they likely to understand what I'm explaining here? How common is this kind of information to somebody who doesn't work in digital forensics?
Exactly. All right, so based upon that, your fourth tip is to tailor your approach on each case.
Not wrong, but after all of this, it sounds weird. Why would you need to tailor your approach if all you're doing is presenting the facts? Why? Why do you need to tailor your approach to each case if all you're doing is presenting facts? For me, it's not a bad question, but I don't like the phrasing of the question.
Yeah, this is really about how to conduct the digital investigation. Like, depending on the kind of case, depends on how you approach the data. The example I typically give.
Why? Why do you need different approaches to the data? If you're only there to objectively tell this is what it showed.
If you've got a victim who's found at home, for example, location data may not be relevant because you know where they are, you know where they've probably been most of the time. But if you find a victim out in the middle of the road, in the field, or somewhere unexpected, then location data becomes a priority because you want to know where they were before this location. Similarly, communication data may not be relevant if you're looking at a a vehicle collision, for example. But if you're in more of a domestic situation, then communication could be key. So
when it comes to collisions, timing is actually essential. Because I would assume that Cellebrite would be getting the question, was there activity on the phone on any of the colliding vehicles? Doesn't it? Same with location data. If somebody claims to be in the car and the location data says you're not in the car, this is weird.
it's really about tailoring how you conduct the investigation, how you write the report based on the kind of investigation it is, to make sure that you're focusing on the right elements.
Exactly. And I also think that we aren't sitting at a desk all day, every day, being investigators and examiners anymore. We are brought in to do specific things and validation and make sense of data that sometimes then expands to everything. So focusing on what's being asked, I think, helps, but then speaking up when something doesn't make sense and needs to lead you down another path.
Yes.
All right, your final one. This is advice I could take in my everyday life. Block out the noise.
Yeah, so this particular case was kind of unique to me. Like I've testified in many cases before, several.
Not that long ago, he said, I got involved in this case because of a blogger contacting us. That's noise. Seriously.
Well, those have been relatively high profile, but this was another level. Personally, I found I had to turn off Twitter. I didn't open Twitter or X for probably about 8 months. I was very careful other social media platforms I was using to block out anything that was related to the case. I didn't want to know, basically. I don't want my kind of opinion to be shifted based on what I'm seeing online. All I want to know is the data that's put in front of me. That is the
yeah. Generally, yeah. Good thing. Once you're contracted, turn off your social media.
Data that I have to testify to and understand. I don't need that outside influence. So essentially, ignore everything apart from the data.
It also didn't
Well,
help
why
when you
did
had
you
a team of
change the
people
fucking
reminding you of
tool?
something they saw. I just saw this tweet. It wasn't helpful to you. So we
Is it true?
apologize, Ian.
We
We had your back all along. But that's what you were so firm in your mind on, yep, I'm just going to ignore it. Me, I probably would have like poured myself a glass of wine and walked right into that chaos and then cried into my wine glass. So good for you.
You were involved in the Idaho 4 case. And now you're telling me if you were in the situation in the Karen Reed, you would have drunk yourself stupid and cried? Miss Bernhardt, that's not a good look.
Seriously,
I watered down the line.
It's a lesson for all of us. But now we're going to do, historically, this has been called mean tweets. And I remember seeing Peyton Manning reading something awful about himself where someone said he looked like a horse. It was terrible to watch these celebrities.
Yes, if they're going to put up proper questions or bad takes.
Read all of this. Ian, you're a celebrity in our household. So I am going to read these mean tweets or mean X's, whatever we call it, and see what you think about this. And
All
the
right,
names are blurred out, okay? If you want, I could tell you, sometimes I can see how many views there were. And there's a cuss word, so I'm going to say beep, okay? Ian Wiffin didn't explain.
That made it worse.
He misinterpreted data to fit the prosecution's case. He screwed up in the first trial and changed his testimony. and the @Cellebrite report for the second trial.
Interesting. I don't believe my position changed at all regarding the Google search in trial 1 and trial 2.
You changed the tool to remove the 227 search, and you don't believe that anything changed? Yeah.
And
But did you manipulate your report?
I presented the data from the device and demonstrated my position. Obviously, we changed the tool to reflect the new understanding.
Oh, you admit you changed the tool. Yeah. Isn't that strange?
But it was unrelated to what the prosecution may have wanted.
Yeah, upgrading your tooling is different than being a tool and modifying your report. So thank you.
Yeah, but you still upgraded the tool which removed a result because you couldn't explain why that result showed up.
For not only 79 views, Ian, so the world didn't really even see that person. All right, you ready? I can't wait. I want to know what you guys think of the data. Tell Ian Wiffin to get lost and go do his job at Cellebrite. But you did do your job.
I did.
You fixed the tool. Oh my God.
Fixed the tool is kind of the problem because you could not explain the 227 search, so you tweaked the tool and removed that result.
Gosh, okay, here's another one. Seriously, I'd be curious to know how many taxpayer dollars we spent solely in an attempt to vindicate Jen McCabe. How much was paid to Ian Wiffin and Cellebrite to change their whole software to try to discredit the 227 Google search timestamp?
Okay, I'm quite happy to answer this one. My flight and my hotel was paid for twice. Other than that, I received and Cellebrite received nothing.
I love it. Okay. Doing it because you care.
Let's see here. Ian Wiffin claims he was only paid. What was it? Let's see here.
My flight and my hotel was paid for twice. Other than that, I received and Cellebrite received nothing.
Flights and room for 2 trials. Let's see here. The Norfolk County District Attorney's Office paid Cellebrite approximately $180,000 for services related to the Karen Reed case from 2022 through 2025. $180,000. That's more than flights and room. So yeah, what he fails in, he claims he was paid room and flight. Yeah, but you were also paid for the extraction, everything around that, the analysis around that. You doing your report was also billed. So when he claims he was only paid for room and flight, it's a lie. Because, folks, Cellebrite is a private company, privately owned company. They charge for everything. So what? This is probably just, or he's talking about him personally. but it sounds really bad because we know they got paid for other things. Jesus fucking Christ. And folks, this is a production, what you're seeing. It was recorded, edited, and then published. Meanwhile, they could fact check everything in this to remove anything that sounded like bullshit, and they kept this in. For fuck's sake.
I love it. Okay. Doing it because you care about the data.
Doing it.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
It's the right thing to do, for sure.
Yeah, and not saying who was guilty or who was not. For the record, anyone watching, I used to always ask Ian, like, so what do you think? So what do you think? Like, I just wanted his opinion, and Ian's like, well, the data shows this.
Exactly. That's all I can speak to.
All right, now this one, 54 views, okay? 54 people around the world saw this. Ian Wiffin was not credible. Come on. You're not credible, Ian, all right?
Okay, I mean, everyone has an opinion.
59 views. Ian Wiffin didn't destroy anything except at Cellebrite's credibility.
Remember that, this has this many views, that has this many views, and the first one, this many views. The second one, they didn't talk about how many views. Strange, isn't it? It's almost as if they are selective.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't know how to respond to that. I present the data. I believe, from Cellebrite's point of view, we did the right thing. And yeah, I'll die on that hill.
Well, Cellebrite had your back 100% through and through on all of this. So I feel like our credibility skyrocketed because of your brain. So thank you. Seriously,
You're both hired by Cellebrite, and what else are you supposed to say? Maybe you should have hired somebody outside of Cellebrite to do this circle jerk of absolute Jesus fucking Christ.
we are trusted. You are trusted. I think our team of experts are more trusted now than ever before because of your testimony. All right. Now there's a new one. Okay. This is the best one. So there's a picture of Mark Zuckerberg in his gray t-shirt and you from your Artex website, or your double black in your gray t-shirt. And it says, am I on crack, or is Mark?
I cannot give a fuck if I survived to the last star in the sky burnt out. I couldn't give less of a fuck who Ian Wiffin resembles.
Zuckerberg and Ian Wiffin essentially the same damn person. Hashtag Karen Reed.
My bank account would disagree.
You do look alike in this picture a little bit.
It's a very old picture.
You have the same haircut too, Ian. But you don't make as much money, probably.
Guaranteed.
All right. So beyond all these mean tweets and all this ridiculousness and people just being social trolls, in the end, all over the battle of that 2:27 a.m. timestamp, in the second trial, Karen Reed actually said she was not having her defense expert return because Ian Wiffin was right.
Oh, you want to... no spoilers, but listen to this pile of garbage that they are about to reveal to you.
Are we going to hear from Richard Green in this trial?
No.
Why not?
I believe the evidence is all out and in part from Ian Wiffin.
How does that make you feel, Ian, that Karen said your name on the screen and said, Ian Wiffin was right.
You lying sack of human excrement. Karen Reed's defense did not find a reason to debunk Ian Wiffin's because, as it was explained, his testimony, as was explained, if you would have played this a little longer, or as they didn't call a rebuttal witness against Ian Wiffin because his testimony was so bad. They didn't have to. Check with the attorneys in the trial. Check with Karen Reed, Turtle Boy, other people streaming. What Miss Barnard here is claiming that Karen Reed said that Ian Wiffin was correct is an outright lie. Ian Wiffin's clusterfuck on the witness stand made them sure we don't need a rebuttal witness because he damaged the state's case enough by himself. You lying sack of shit, you harlot, you moron. I don't care how much you want to protect the company you're working for. But do not lie. Everything else in this interview is about interpretations. This is a lie.
So I mean, it was validation. I was already confident in my answer. I knew I was right with it. I was disappointed that the defense didn't put their expert on the stand to put his opinion across and to have that kind of debate and to evidence their position. But Karen saying that I was right is a close second. I'll take it.
That never happened. Again, this is Cellebrite using their employees in order to bolster themselves to the world. And they lied. They chose to lie.
I love it. And I can't speak on behalf of Karen Reed, but how you did your report and the level of detail on what was on the device versus what was on your test device and how sure you were, that had to prove to her that she didn't need an expert of her own because you were an expert for everyone.
Yeah,
I tried to provide a balanced opinion. Like, I wasn't necessarily there for prosecution. I was there for the data. And whoever it helped, I don't really care. I'm just presenting the data that's there.
I love that. Well, Ian, seriously, thank you for being Cellebrite's top expert in my mind.
Yeah, this pile of garbage, Cellebrite believed, hey, this is good for us. Whoever is controlling their social media and public relations, this is not good. A bunch of these things that you claimed in this interview can be used by defense attorneys across the country to say, hey, if you can't explain shit, you will change your tool to fit the narrative of the person currently paying you. I would do it in a heartbeat because that is my interpretation. as a privately owned company, you do not leave these things for interpretation, because both of you are expert witnesses at trials. This is bad. This is so bad, folks. And Cellebrite don't know. Now again, they are not doing this for us. They are not doing it for people who ask questions. They are doing this for law enforcement. Because law enforcement are the people who hire them, who paid them $180,000 to put Ian Wiffin on the stand to present what he claims are facts. At the same time, in this interview, he acknowledged that, well, we did an update on our tool, that it showed up new things that was good for the defense. So we made a new update that removed it. That should tell everybody that Cellebrite does not care about the defense.